June 15, 2025. We're in the third chapter of Mark now in our summer series looking at Mark. And we find ourselves with another Sabbath and another synagogue and a different crowd and another person in need, just like the previous two chapters, but things are progressing and you'll see how and maybe why. They are watching Jesus again. They being the authorities, they being the ones who are working on a plot. Mark tells us that the Pharisees, the religious leaders who knew the law like the back of their hands, they were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus. They were not there to listen. They were not there to learn. They were there to trap. And I wish we had stories about the one or two Pharisees who came away saying, isn't this remarkable? Maybe there's something to this Jesus person. But we don't have those stories. We only have what we have. And so the caricature of the Pharisees is that they were there to trap him. They were building a case against Jesus and his people because he's disrupting. He is pulling people away from the traditions, and that can't stand. Also, there in this new crowd, this new situation, is a man who has a withered hand. His whole life is probably curled up with that hand. There's lost work, there's lost dignity. You know that he's been teased his entire life. And touch is one of those things that's important for human connections. So this man with the withered hand is there in the synagogue. Everybody sees him. Everybody sees Jesus. Everybody who's been paying attention to this whole thing knows that something's going to happen here. But no one says a word until Jesus speaks. Come forward. He invites him up. And there's this beat of silence that people are just so enthralled with this. We get to see this. We've heard about this. We get to see it. And then saying, not to the man, but those in the crowd watching, is it lawful to do good or to do harm on the Sabbath, to save a life or to kill? That's the question? That's what you ask, Jesus? That's what you take this teaching moment to talk about? But isn't that always the question? When is it good to do good? When is it right to do right? And it fits the pattern of the first two chapters of Mark. This is just a continuation of his story. And we're continuing to see right where he left off in chapter 2. There's a situation, there's a miracle, there are questions, and there is condemnation and concern. But in the face of pain, in the presence of this injustice, in a world where some people wither while others watch, what is lawful? What is faithful? What is good? Have you noticed that the music that we listen to during our seasons of courting is one of those good old-fashioned words. Those early days of love and friendships and hope and vulnerability, those early days of innocence. The music that we listen to in those times imprints itself on us more deeply than almost any other soundtrack. Those long drives and those late night conversations, the slow dances and the whispers. The songs that we listen to during those times define the emotions of falling in love. Sometimes, even decades later, we hear something else and we say, you know, we used to have a song, but I think this song should be our song. It provokes a smell or a taste or a memory. Not reminding us of just the past, but maybe it sparks something new. Sometimes a new song sung in a new way can evoke those same sorts of feelings that we have for the songs that we listened to when we were dating. I found one of those songs recently. It's a song called Fix You by a band Coldplay. And when the music crescendos, when it swells and the instruments sort of fall away and the singer's voice just has this depth and this presence, and it's something deeper than just the words and the lyrics. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. It's Father's Day, and that sort of sentiment resonates with me because one of the things dads want to do is fix stuff. Not just the handyman around the house sort of things, but the hurts. Your kid has some injustice going on and you want to fix it. Your spouse has an issue and you want to fix it. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to negotiate it. You just want it fixed. You want this problem to go away. I want to fix you. I want to fix this. But this song by Coldplay is deeper than that. It's not just about mending what's broken. It's about this spirit of wanting the best for the other. Wanting resolution in a positive way. The feeling of knowing compassion, that somebody's got your back. This defiance in the face of suffering, that we will get through this. And I will bring you home. And I'll fix you. It's about the power to reach out, courage to change. And if everybody else is silent, I won't be. I kind of see Jesus in this story in Mark chapter 3 the same sort of way. He wants to fix not only the man with the withered hand, but those gathered in the crowd. He wants resolution in a positive way for everybody who's there in that room. And he looks at them, not with this smugness or detachment, but with compassion, to the point of anger. He gets angry with these people who, not the withered, but those watching. He was grieved at their hardness of heart. And that phrase is such a biblical phrase, isn't it? God has this grieving at the hardness of his people's heart. That phrase, hardness of heart, is throughout Scripture. Pharaoh in Egypt, the wilderness generation, the prophets crying out, make your hearts not stone but flesh, become soft again, and I will fix you. Hardness of heart isn't always cruelty either. Sometimes it's that polite silence when you're confronted with evil, the indifference that lets suffering continue. The ultimate tragedy, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, is not the oppression and the cruelty when confronted with evil. It's not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people. It's the silence over that by the good people. Those watching had no opinion. They had no moral recognition that God was at work in the healing of this man's hand. Sometimes a hard heart is the refusal to risk, the unwillingness to see the opportunity in front of you and seize it and claim it. Hardness of heart is both the sin of commission and the sin of omission. It's not always what we do. Sometimes it's what we don't do and fail to do. Stretch out your hand, Jesus says. And the man does, and it's restored, and it's healed. It's not only healed, but it's healthy and strong. No ceremony, no incantation, just presence and healing, compassion. And it's a moment that should bring awe to those watching. Instead, it initiates a plot. It sparks a sense of violence and retribution. The Pharisees leave that room, and they don't just conspire with themselves. They team up with the Herodians, the political insiders, those with the real power, the collaborators, the partners in crime, to conspire, Mark says, to destroy Jesus. Not only tamp it down, but to eliminate it. Jesus and his movement for wholeness and healing. I think two things are happening here in our story. Jesus sees and heals. Others see and refuse to heal, refuse to love, cling to power. And that's where the music playing behind this drama shifts, right? If this story were a song, this is where the tempo changes and the beat picks up, because Jesus doesn't stop healing. He doesn't retreat into hiding. He doesn't see these guys out there conspiring and go, okay, well, maybe we need to back off a little bit. He goes to the sea, and he goes where people have gathered, so many of them that he has to get a boat and turn it up and be out there so that everybody can hear him project, everybody can hear him speak. And they come from everywhere. Galilee, Judea, Jerusalem, beyond the Jordan, Tyre, Sidon, yonder. All y'all. And they come from far and wide, not for politics or status, but to pull away from politics and status. They come because they've heard about healing and they want to see it for themselves. Not enough of their senses have yet been engaged by this man that they've heard about. And they also come with their own hurts and their own wishes and dreams. And he touches them and he heals them. He commands evil to flee. It's almost overwhelming. So many people pressing in on him. He has to ask for a boat just to keep from being physically crushed. And then he does something surprising. He climbs a mountain, not to escape, but to invite those closest to him to confirm their call as followers. He doesn't call the healthy and the whole. He calls those whom he wanted to heal and whom he wanted to have them help him heal. 12 ordinary people, fishermen, tax collectors, sons of thunder. Man, that's a cool nickname, isn't it? Doubters, betrayers. He calls them out to be with him, and then to be sent out to preach, to cast out demons, to continue the work of healing. He either can't or he doesn't want to do it all himself. And do you hear it? That same voice, stretch out your hand, that same power, be made well. And now it's being shared, that power of God. It's being shared, transferred for the first time, multiplied, given away. No school, no curriculum, no program, no book tour, no pack of CDs, video series to watch at the Bible study. There's no credentials or studies required, just the invitation from Jesus. Go. Lights will guide you home, and they will ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. And now not only Jesus can claim that, but they can claim that. Jesus doesn't just fix one man's hand. He fixes a broken way of thinking, a hardened system, a fractured world. And then he calls his followers, us, to carry that healing forward and to keep it going. Here's the thing. To follow Jesus means risking a soft heart in a hard world. It means speaking when silence is so much easier. It means healing when accusation is much more profitable. Division, derision, the tamping down. It means presence, not just ideals or principles, but a physical presence. The healing of the man in the synagogue wasn't a miracle for one. It was a line in the sand. And Mark is very clear that once that line is crossed, y'all are either with me or not. You're either part of my group to be empowered, to be healed, and to be given the responsibility of healing others, or and we're just 3 chapters in, but we're left here with confronting ourselves. Who's my protagonist in this story? On whose side do I find myself? Will we choose to preserve traditions? Or will we choose the power of new life, of healing, of hope, of tender hearts? Will we watch for fault, or will we look for healing? Will we remain silent? Will we even deny our own healing because we're scared of it? Or will we stretch out our hand? I think this is a lesson for the church, because it's not meant to be a courtroom. It's meant to be a clinic, a place where hands are straightened out, a place where hearts are softened and opened, a place called to be a place of healing, of sharing. You know, if Jesus looked at that synagogue, a place of his tradition, of his people, with grief and anger at their hardened hearts, I wonder what he'd say if he looked at our churches. Maybe we're living up to it. Maybe we're places of healing and hope, places of joy, encouragement. Maybe we're that kind of church, not conspiring to protect power, but conspiring to give life and community. Not closing ranks, but opening hearts. Not watching to accuse or worried about what people are wearing or doing, but seeing opportunities for healing. Lights will guide us. Grace will ignite us. And Christ, the one who called the 12, who healed the withered, who grieved and rejoiced, will continue to work to fix us. And then he might just send us out to do the same.